All right. Hey, how's everyone doing on TikTok? Looks like it's moving. Maybe. You guys could give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be greatly appreciated. Welcome everyone on Instagram. Same thing there. If you guys could give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be greatly appreciated. Perfect. TikTok is working. And this is very debatable. Okay. I had 6. I had 0. I have 2. This is all over the place. We're having some issues. Sapphirians, welcome. We're having some issues on Facebook. I think one of my producers fixed it, but I'm supposed to be producing and adulting myself tonight during a Mercury in retrograde. It's like 5+ planets in Gemini, and I don't know. All right, so fingers crossed. Let's pray. We're in the right place for it. So it looks like it's working. All right, very good. So welcome everyone on Facebook. Ivy Angela Rivera, Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium, and YouTube at Ask Ivy. If you guys are having any trouble tuning in tonight, switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. That's the one that tends to hold up the best. Let's see what's going on here. All right. I was out in the sun all day. I'm a little dehydrated and burnt and swollen all at the same time. It's a nice combination. And I'm a little slow. I don't think, I really wasn't feeling it. I love the sun so much, the beach, the heat, the whole thing. And I could just be out there happily roasting until I'm like a raisin. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, wow. I did something. So bear with me tonight. A couple quick announcements while everyone tunes in. Today is the registration deadline for the Psychic Mediumship course. So if you wanted to join my Psychic Mediumship training with a group of people, this is your opportunity. We start August 12th. It is also evergreen, so don't feel like you have to join with a group. You can take the course anytime. And I will be, I don't know really when I'm going to be running it again. Some people have been asking, because I understand sometimes with summer, it's not always working. Everyone wants to be a free bird during the summer, but I don't have anything scheduled just yet. Okay, so I don't know when. Go ahead and get yourself registered. And if you have questions about the course, I just did a live Q&A on the whole thing, and that's published. So you can go back and watch that. If you have any other questions, you want to book a reading, a psychic fair party with me, a healing Reiki session for you, for your pet, whatever, you can go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com for all of this information. So I want to go ahead and get right into this today. Today we are talking about letting go of guilt. All right, and I do want to encourage you guys to start posting any questions that you have on today's topic. Now, because I'm producing myself, I'm not going to be able to grab those questions if you're on TikTok or Instagram. So if someone wants to moderate for me, that's great. I would need you to transfer them over here to YouTube or Facebook, but don't assume that's happening. Okay, so if you had some questions you really wanted to get answered tonight, you may want to switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy, or Facebook, Ivy Angela Rivera, or Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium. Either of those pages will work for your questions. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and start dropping your questions. I'll see them pop right up and I'll be able to click on them and they'll present on the screen. I will make sure I get to all of the questions at the end of today's sermon. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a tiny no arrow walk. This is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the three truths in the universe. That's intuitive intelligence, numerology, and astrology, to assist you in finding the truths in life, to staying on your life path, to fulfilling your life contract and your healing, ultimately, so that with character and integrity, you can go out and assist others in doing the same. Today's sermon topic is letting go of guilt. I want to encourage everyone to please give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. It helps me out in the algorithm, and please do hit the subscribe and share this video. Donations are appreciated, not required by any means. And start posting, if I didn't already say so, your prayer and healing requests. I check these for about 2 weeks. So even if you're watching this later, once it's published, I will be praying and manifesting over your prayer and healing requests. And we are all here to do that for one another tonight as well. So don't be shy. And all questions about today's topic will be taken at the end. All right. So let's get into it. Letting go of guilt. This was a tough topic for me my entire life. And when Spirit had given me 3 different topics in that poll that I recently ran, where I said, do you guys want to hear a sermon on this or this or this? This came out tied in the #1 position. And I didn't think much of it at the time. I have been noticing a lot of people struggling with guilt and shame, but I didn't think it would hit me on such a personal level as hard as it did. But once I had to start preparing today's sermon, there was a lot that came up. And I think that what is happening for the most part with all of us internationally, but especially in America, is that we are from birth so driven, so pressured, so beaten down by the systems that we live in. And that's something our parents have typically not learned to break free from. So it's happening out in the world. It's happening at home. It's reinforced at home with our parents, in our family structures. And it ends up being something that from generation to generation gets buried because the weight, the darkness, the heaviness of having to lift our souls up out of it, meaning guilt and shame. It's so much work. It's so uncomfortable. And it's so, quite frankly, it's scary. It's scary AF. And nobody knows for sure. If you go through all this labor, you do all this work, is there going to be payout? Is it going to be worth it? Is my life going to get worse? You know, everyone's trying not ever to look. Okay, it's like a generational curse put upon your grandparents, the next set of grandparents, your parents, you. And by the time it lands on you, you're breaking. I mean, you're cracking entirely under the pressure, but you have no roadmap to get out. No one before you has done it, or very few. So you don't know that it's going to be worth it to do. And whenever I find with humans, I do it too, if I don't know there's going to be some type of payout, I'm like, let's take that and just put that up on a shelf. Let's just keep that in our back pocket. Okay, I'll set a reminder on that. And I procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate, you know, because it's a huge undertaking. We can't really, in today's world, take any more pressure added to the pile that is our life. So to sort through this, it's highly unlikely. It will probably never, ever happen. However, it's the guilt and the shame that we're not recognizing again, handed down generationally, coming at us from societal structures, being reinforced by our parents in the home. It is this that is causing so much depression and isolation and a general fear of authenticity. We're not able to be at peace. We're not able to have simple joys. We're not able to be in a state of rest because this unfinished business is constantly lurking. And it's revolutionary to do this work. And it is so, so worth it. I would say that if you aren't doing it and releasing guilt and shame every time it comes like a demon into your life to hold you down permanently and to isolate you, if you're not dealing with it along the journey of life, you really aren't living. You're maybe surviving, but you're certainly not thriving. And a lot of people are barely surviving. This guilt and shame lurking is driving people not only to isolation and avoidance of the true self, avoidance of who they are, but it leads to avoidance, escapism, drug and alcohol abuse, porn addiction, excessive overeating, excessive video game playing, whatever it is, workaholism. I could go on and on and on. When you look around, I just want everyone to stop for a minute and think about this. When you look around at your family, your friends, your coworkers, the people you're around on a regular basis, how many of them almost seem like zombies? It's like there's no one home. I like to say that a lot of people are on a loop. They just repeat the same patterns over and over and over and over again. And I don't care how much you love them. I don't care how much you like them. I don't care how much, sometimes they can be, funny or entertaining, or you could have a good exchange. It's not about that. It's realizing when you look at people around you, and maybe you're realizing this about yourself lately or tonight, but it's like there's no one home. It's like they are on autopilot. And if things in life aren't working, they just keep doing the same stuff. If something in their heart needs to be examined, they just won't go there. So they never grow. They never change. If you were to check back with this person in 20 years, they would be the same. And I bet if you check back with them 8, 12, 16 years ago, they were the same. They never really develop. Okay, so they're like zombies. They're like robots. I really think at the root of so much of that, it is this. Okay, so we're going to break this down from a spiritual, universal, energetic perspective. What is going on with this? Why does it persist? How can we get past it successfully and then maintain an alert system to stay out of it in the future? Now, there is a normal amount of guilt and shame that's perfectly healthy. If you ever dealt with a sociopath or a narc, you wish there was more guilt and shame in the world. Maybe they were never taught guilt or shame and they should have been. There's a normal, healthy amount of guilt and shame. We need to be making decisions from a moral compass, an ethical code of conduct, and have some type of conscience. But when it's there abnormally and it's not helping anything, we have to start examining where it came from and what to do about it. I do want to say that before we get into, I've got 6 different things we could talk about today. And if you guys want a part 2, let me know. But before I get into that, I do just want to point out that I, as someone who was raised with a tremendous amount of guilt and shame and abused with it, I can spot it in people. And I think we all can, but we try to not look at other people's guilt and shame because we ourselves haven't dealt with our guilt and shame. It's like mirroring, but I have done the work on my guilt and shame, and I can spot it. It's like I have radar. I can sense it with people. And I notice it almost like an attachment, a paranormal attachment, or like a possession. And I notice that they tend to be extremely isolated. And in times in my own life when I wasn't dealing with it, I was extremely isolated. Even when I was around a bunch of other people, I was isolated in that. I was lonely. I was detached. I wasn't authentically in my energy. And I think that is the goal. I think that the cruelty of this, let's think of it like a spirit, right? An entity. The cruelty of this guilt and shame that attaches to people and seeps into people's souls, it keeps them so isolated that they can't ever be shown love. They can't ever, even if it's given to them, receive it. They can't ever enter into situations where they can prove that they are good, that they're not deserving of this guilt and this shame and this awkward energy. You know, that they are the same as everyone else. And isolation runs like a loop. I recently posted a video. If you guys didn't see it, it was a YouTube video, but it talked about the psychology behind what happens. It was titled something like Why People Get Weird, How the Brain Works, why people are weird if they isolate too much or if they're lonely for too long. And you may want to go watch that. Okay. In this video, from a psychological, scientific perspective, they talk about the way the brain changes and how you get stuck in one of these loops. So isolation is repetitive. It's almost like once you're in, it's harder to get out. A lot of people don't ever get out. Okay. I think fixing the guilt and the shame issue will free people. Also, remember that the universe is waiting and watching. The universe is always cheering for you. We are the underdogs. Every day. Some of us more so than others, but we are the underdogs, right? And the universe is just like rooting for you. Like, break free. Get out of this. Be authentic. Heal yourself. Look at the shadow. What is making you guilty? What is making you feel ashamed? Is it valid? Okay, like, and if it is, what can you do about it? What have you learned? How can you welcomize it? The universe is rooting you on. And the minute you are even willing to tune into something like this tonight, the universe instantaneously starts rewarding you. Maybe some of you marked this on your calendar and you were like, I think I need that. I'm going to tune in. And that day, all the red lights turned green and you got that job promotion. And stuff started working in your favor. You know, people were kinder, whatever it is. It's like you automatically, this is with anything, when the universe sees that you're doing the work, you're even just entertaining doing the work, you're going to receive instantaneous rewards for that, blessings. And you karmically earned them. But it's a long, dirty journey getting to the end of this. You have to have stamina. And you have to trust that at the most difficult points in this journey, the universe is not just going to give you little rewards. The universe is going to supply you with the right people, opportunities, situations that you need for your healing. Maybe these will be people that see the world just like you do or have been through things that you have. Maybe they'll be the polar opposite. But they're not judgmental, you know, and it works. We don't know what we're going to get. So don't have expectations about what it should look like, but you will have opportunities to prove your high vibration, you will have opportunities to break these generational curses and chains, and you will have the support of people, whether these are lifelong BFFs or it's just someone who's randomly in your life for a few months during that part of your journey. It'll be there. Expect it. Watch for it. Accept it. Embrace it. Because you're not doing anything in the universe alone. Literally nothing. Okay? The opposite of what society has taught you to believe. So let's start breaking these down. We've got 6 different categories to touch on. Again, I want to remind you guys, please give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. Please do subscribe. Post your prayer and healing requests now. I will be getting to them. And we are all praying and manifesting over each other's prayer and healing requests. And post your questions now or as we go, and I will get to all of them at the end. And if you are on TikTok or Instagram, I'm not going to be able to see your questions. So you may need to go to my Facebook channel, Ivy Angela Rivera, Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium, or my YouTube at Ask Ivy. There I can see your questions. All right. So I think the first thing when it comes to guilt and shame that we need to look at is this question. Did I do something to cause this guilt, this shame? Is it reasonable that it's here? I screwed up. Maybe I didn't do something. Maybe I didn't move fast enough. I tolerated something for too long. You know, whatever it is. Is it that? Is it logical that it's there? Which is a good sign. You're a good person. You want to do better. You don't want to hurt someone. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to make the same mistake again. That's awesome. Good. We can feel good, even if we feel bad about that, at least. But sometimes you can't find the root cause of it. So the question then becomes, was it put upon me? Do I have this weird nagging guilt and shame, this fear of being authentic, this fear of stepping out, this crippled inability to live my life on my own terms? I'm always afraid everyone hates me or people are mad at me. I feel at the core of who I am bad. I believe somehow I'm bad. And you're like, but I really don't have a lot of proof of that. Like I don't make bad choices. I don't hurt people. Where is it coming from? This is where you need to say, it was put upon me. Right? So the first thing we all need to do is to figure out, was it put upon me or did I earn this through poor decision making? Okay. Until we can figure that out, I don't really think we can move forward very easily. So you may need to start a journal on this. Okay. Keep it in its right category though. If it was put upon you, okay, this is something, again, society has done, the systems have done to you, probably generational curses, so to speak. I don't believe in curses, but I do believe in psychological programming. Generationally, your parents put it on you. Okay, we're going to break that down in a minute. The first thing you're going to need to do, once you figure out where it came from, you know, is to unblock. So in unblocking, you're identifying where it came from, what happened, to the best of your ability. A ballpark idea is good enough. And then you are determined to process it in whatever way is going to be healthiest for you. Maybe that is throwing some money at a therapist. Maybe that's reading some self-help books. Maybe that's doing a shadow work thing, okay? But you are essentially unblocking, removing the guilt and the shame that is no longer useful for you. Maybe it never was. And in removing that block, you are creating a flow. I'm always talking on my shows about how people try and beat their heads up against a wall to manifest and use law of attraction, and they don't understand why it's not working. And this is the same. You can't have fluidity. You can't raise your vibration. You can't claim and access better things when you have a big old block in the way. So we remove it, and then naturally everything else will start to come that you need, that you want, that you hope for. And if you're so in the gutter, you don't even have ambitions or hopes or whatever, let the universe give you some little wetting of the palate, and then you can move forward. Take some steps in blind faith. Okay, number 2, you need to look at your parents and you need to be really honest. So many people I see, or my clients, who are stuck in these toxic patterns of guilt and shame in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 80s even, refuse to examine their folks. They won't look at their parents. And I think that our parents were so much more than even most of us tuning in here tonight. They were so hypnotized. They were so pulled into, brainwashed, the cults of the church and capitalism and the patriarchy and colonization, and on and on and on we go, without ever examining a thing, without ever questioning or rocking the boat. They towed the line, and they handed down all of that toxicity, poured it out onto you. Even if they love you, do they really know how to love well? They don't know even how to love themselves. So most of us were raised by these zombies, but like on steroids. So we have to be willing to look at our parents, our grandparents, with a critical eye and ask if they did in fact put guilt and shame upon you for normal human things. My mother told me from the time I was quite small that I was going to burn in hell all the time. That's what I heard. You're going to burn in hell, kid. And she was a good Catholic. So I was raised up in a toxic Catholic system I'm still recovering from, and had her at home telling me for any feeling I had or screw up I may have had, or I don't ever remember what I did to deserve hearing that all the time. But to tell a kid that they're gonna burn in hell or any variation of that when they're in Catholic school or they're in a religious system, to a child who is taught to believe that heaven and hell are totally real, that takes on a whole other tone of guilt and shame, and teaches you that you are at the core of your existence bad and deserving of such a thing. So she may not have ever even really, she certainly didn't care, but she may not have ever even really thought about what she was saying. But to a kid who believed I'm going to burn in hell because I'm bad, right? The guilt and the shame that I had to process, the amount of time I had to, and money I had to spend on therapy to claw my way out of that hole, okay, is still something I will have to battle the rest of my life. No doubt about it. I'm maintaining, it's like an addiction. I never consider myself entirely healed. There are triggers everywhere, but that is the kind of story I hear all the time these older generations were harsh that way, with their kids. The church was something that was so seeped into society, especially here in America. You think of the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s. It was so mainstream. It wasn't even really about a religion. It was about like a lifestyle, a culture. Sometimes that's all the culture these people had. So, you were getting it from all angles, not just your parents if they were religious. Heaven forbid you went to Catholic school. I mean, that's all it is guilt and shame piled on. Now, let's say you didn't experience any of this. Your parents aren't religious. They never abused you. Everything was fairly normal. You're still getting it. If you are a woman, you are shamed constantly. You are shamed into growing up and becoming a mother. That's what makes you a good person. A good woman is going to grow up and have kids. 1 million of them if you can. Or you're supposed to get chosen by a man and be picked, and get married. And then when that's all falling apart and it's horrible and abusive and doesn't work, you're supposed to say nothing. You're supposed to uphold the family. You're supposed to stay strong and hold it in and forget about yourself and sacrifice your entire life. You're supposed to be thin. You're supposed to be beautiful. You're not allowed to age. It goes on and on and on. Okay, so if you're here tuning in as a girl or a woman, I don't have to tell you. And this is everywhere. There's nowhere that is escaped. Men, boys. What happens to the men and boys? You're shamed for being like a woman. Heaven forbid. Okay, you should have any resemblance of being a girl or a woman or anything feminine. Then you're shamed for that. That means you can't have feelings. That means you can't express yourself. That means you can't wear color. That means you can't really have community. You're born and bred to be a soldier for the machine. Esmeralda Marie Rivera, everyone. Say hi. No, not tonight. She's here to break up the drudgery. All right, so let's just, even at the most simple level of your genitalia, okay, whatever, however you identify, you are dealing with these systems, okay? All of us in a, different way, but some things are pretty static. So I want you to look at all that, okay? Look at your parents, look at the systems in which you were raised or influenced. As much as you don't want to, go back there. And again, journal. What category does it go in? This was put upon me, or, okay, I caused this. I'm working through this. Number 3, you need to analyze what you've learned. What I see, too, with people who are doing a lot of work, not just with guilt and shame, but really with anything, there's such a lack of self-acknowledgement, self-care, self-love, self-celebration, self-reward. We need to unapologetically buy the shoes, eat the cookie, pat yourself on the back. When you have done something well, even if it is something like you made some big mistakes in your life, and because of those mistakes, now you're having to do the shadow work and you're having to alchemize that pain into power and lessons. You're having to ask, what have I learned from this? How can I give this out to others to help them not make the same mistakes? How can I heal the wreckage from my past, maybe people I hurt? Okay. You need to celebrate that every single time, every breakthrough that you have, every day you put work into it. You need to celebrate. So I think a big mistake is that people don't analyze. People are more than happy to analyze ish that's going wrong in life, but people don't spend enough time analyzing what's going right. And you don't have to wait for someone else to recognize it and acknowledge it and give you an award for it. You know you did it. The universe knows you did it. Your spirit and your soul knows you did it. So celebrate that. Stay in that energy longer. I also think this is great writing material. It's great storytelling material. You know, the darkest stuff in life is the best art. It's the best music. It's the greatest memes. And if you are authentically sharing that with other people, you're willing to be of service by sharing that with other people in whatever way feels natural to you. You're raw. You're going to help people. You're going to be able to meet them where they are. You may have a ministry growing from this. You need to share it. Okay. But first you have to kind of analyze what the heck you know. A lot of people are also very humble. When you come from a place of a lot of guilt and shame, there can be a certain level of like humbleness, if that's a word, that is really toxic. It's kind of like, do you got toxic positivity, or you have these people that are so low? It's like, keep your head down, you know, it's almost like martyrdom in some way, or another form of victimhood. Like, don't. Everything you've done should be celebrated, acknowledged, and given out to others through some type of storytelling or healing. Okay. So don't be afraid to look at it. But they're like, oh, it's nothing. Oh yeah, I survived, you know, oh yeah, I've been through a lot, or, oh yeah, people always tell me I could write a book about my life. Yeah, I hear that all the time. But do they write that book? Why not? Okay, do it. Number 4, you need to alchemize at the 3rd level, which is kind of what I just talked about. When I talk about alchemy, I often talk about the 3 different levels. There is going through the pain, level 1. Then there is level 2, you know, turning that pain into lessons and power. And then it's level 3, giving it out to the world around you. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. And a lot of people just stop right there. What's mine is mine. I don't have to tell my story. I don't need to give it out. Well, the universe is waiting for you to give it out. And the remainder of your healing comes when you give it out. And your manifestation and your law of attraction and everything will kick in when you give it out. I don't like this hoarding mentality. And people with a lot of guilt and shame tend to have a lot of hoarding mentality. Hoarding the things you've learned, hoarding your power, hoarding your wisdom. And before they get there, they tend to be irritable and bitchy and paranoid, you know, and just everything's dark, everything's against me. And it's unfortunate to watch them process that part, but then never take it the rest of the way. You know, so there is a type, there's almost like a personality type that gets caught up with guilt and shame. And all this great stuff they have, they never kind of complete their life cycle, you know, their life contract by giving it out. Don't be greedy. Don't be a hoarder. You know, who are you saving it for? What are you saving it for? When are you saving it for? You know, this is a world that is hurting right now. And we're in a revolution, which is another service that's going to be coming up here soon, sermon topic. Why did you choose to come here during the revolution? Because a lot of people are like, there's no way I chose to come here right now. So that's a topic for another day, you know, but this is a big part of it. So alchemize at the 3rd level. Give it out. The ultimate way you will heal and start to claim the benefits. Number 5. Which is really just what I said. Giving it back out to the universe creates flow after unblocking. Okay, this is where your true healing can begin, but also you need to believe that wrong things can also be righted. For those of you who did make mistakes. You did cause pain. Maybe you weren't perfect in some of your decisions. Maybe you had addiction and you made a ton of mistakes for a long period of time. You know, whatever it is that you went through, trust also that at that third level of you giving it out to others, that's where the healing is going to start to happen. Or any blocks that still remain in those relationships or those areas, they will be removed. This is where the magic happens. And for those of you that say, well, these things can't be repaired, so-and-so died, or, you know, this situation is over, they're gone, they'll never talk to me again, or I can't go back in time and fix this thing or that thing. It can happen in the higher dimensions. It happens at night when you're sleeping. Okay, you're astro traveling, you're meeting up with these people's souls, you're meeting up in these situations and you're fixing it. It can happen in the afterlife, you know, but we're working in all these different dimensions all the time. It doesn't always have to be that you're face to face with someone and the healing occurs, but I guarantee it may. And you should stay open to that. And try. But as long as you're hoarding, there will always be something held back because you're holding it back. So give it back out to the universe to create the flow and expect those blessings. Expect those healing moments with people and situations that were wrong. Okay. Now, even if this guilt, this shame was put upon you, it's not something you did. It was put upon you. Those situations will also, once you start giving it out, the third level, what you learned, what you've alchemized, how you can help other people, you will also go through peculiar cycles of karma where you are put in situations or you're brought back to places or people from your past resurrect, or you get a big check, or there's a settlement, or, I mean, it could be, who knows what it's going to be. But all of a sudden, the karmic debt that is owed to you by the people who did this to you, put this upon you, the systems that put this guilt and shame upon you, they've got to pay up. And what your cycles of payment and blessings and fluidity are going to look like are these kind of peculiar, sometimes only lasting a few months, but up to several years, where you're in an atmosphere where you just keep getting paid back out from it. Okay, and it'll come in a million different ways. Things you recognize and things you don't. So pay attention. But it will be there. It's a guarantee. That's universal law. Okay, that's karmic debt. It will get paid one way or another. Let's move on to the last one, and then I'm going to take any questions you guys have. Again, I can only see them if they're on YouTube at Ask Ivy or one of the Facebook channels, Ivy Angela Rivera or Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium. Unless someone wants to moderate for me and move them from Instagram and TikTok over here, that would be amazing. All right, so post your questions now if you have any. The last point I really wanted to make here was that you need to be really careful with hotspots and triggers. So understand that the feeling of guilt and shame can look like, again, avoidance, escapism, overeating, not understanding why, over drinking, workaholism, maybe too much porn, too much video game playing, isolation, agitation, an unsettled feeling like the other shoe is going to drop, a terrible foreboding, getting paranoid, feeling like everybody hates you, like you did something wrong, like you're bad, you're bad. These thoughts will come, especially if you're like in the shower when you're supposed to be relaxing, or at night when you're dozing off, or maybe first thing in the morning when the veil is lifted between the worlds, you know, either or. series of nightmares where you're always running from something, or you're being chased, or you're trying to escape yourself. But what you need to do is understand that at different times that will flare up. And it's from a trigger. Maybe somebody reminds you of something you buried in your memory. Situation triggers you. You're getting blamed for something. I had the weirdest experience. I did not plan on sharing this, but I was trying to get my medication. And the only store in town, I'm out here in no man's land, the only store in town that had my medication, like, chains things up. Like, they pull these big yellow weird barriers, and they've got like locks, and they lock it and they chain it up, and then, like, in the afternoon, and I'm never out early enough to be there when it's open and everything looks normal. So I have to go there, and I have to go find somebody, and I have to say, can you unlock this thing so I can go get this? And then I wait. They come. The guy comes, and he says, what are you getting? What are you grabbing? It's not even a big deal, right? But, like, I don't know. He's like, what are you grabbing? And I don't remember what I told him, but anyways, he was like, what aisle? And I was like, what aisle? And I said, what, are there multiple entries to get into this stupid, let me go get my meds. Like, what, and he was, I don't know what, I guess because he could have been open two ways. He didn't mean any harm. He's just trying to help me get it quick and probably, like, get on with his job. But I went to go answer him, and I couldn't swallow. Like, I couldn't swallow. I had a lump in my throat, like I was being accused, or like I was being attacked, or like I was being violated in some way. I had just such a reaction, like a physical reaction to this guy probably trying to open up, this gate. And anyways, I got in and I got my stuff, and I got out, and I've thought about it ever since, like, last couple of days, like, what a weird reaction. I felt almost like I was going to shrink, and I lost my voice. And I'm like, that's how it was is my whole childhood. But instead, I said something smart ass to him, and I was like, what are there, you know what I mean? And I, like, responded, like, because I know how to not let it hold me down, but that doesn't fix the stuff that happens on the inside, So I have a sort of attack reaction to things like that. But I think we need to identify where our triggers are and hot spots. If you guys have ever been in therapy for something like grief, hot spots are triggers essentially, but through atmospheres that have a certain smell or a sound, or, the way you see, like, say you're in the grocery store and the way you see the cereal stacked, you have a flashback to something that happened on the cereal aisle. It's like outside hot spots. They can be anywhere. You're going to want to learn these for yourself, because there are more than you think. And be prepared for how you're going to react to that. Having a list of things maybe in your pocket that you can read that help you to understand the trigger. Maybe a list of things that tell you that you're safe, that you're good, that you have processed this, redirecting your thoughts to future thinking, having a list of things that you've done in the world that are right. Okay, anything that can help you redirect yourself. I would also suggest, and a lot of people are like, a list, well, I don't want to carry a list. I'll get a tattoo. I'll get a permanent marking on me to remember the, the guilt, the shame, the hardship, what I went through, da 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 da. I don't have any problem with tattoos. You guys can do whatever you want, but do you want to be looking at that all the time? Do you want that looking back at you all the time? Think long and hard before you permanently put something on your body that's going to pull you back into that energy indefinitely. As long as you have that skin, You have that story of guilt and shame and hardship and turmoil staring right back at you. You know, I could be covered head to toe. I don't have a single one. There's a reason for that. I want to let go. I'm off. You know, the minute you can get up, brush yourself off and go. Forget it. Okay. Try to forget it. Just be careful getting all marked up with permanent things. Maybe a piece of jewelry. You know, if you're struggling, you got a lot of hot spots, you know, you're in a time in life where you've got a lot of triggers, keep a piece of jewelry on that really reinforces, you know, your positivity for you. But I think a list can help a lot. Don't get trapped in therapy. Not all therapists are going to milk you, but all therapists are getting paid by you. You are paying for their dinner and their nice restaurant out and their vacation and their mortgage, and you are. And I've been in therapy since I was about 5 years old. And I've never once had a therapist, as miserable as a lot of it was and as much as I shouldn't have been there, I've never had one tell me, take a break, ever. Okay? Sometimes going over this ish is not helping anymore. When it's done, it's done. When you know you're done talking about it, you're done processing it, you've gotten the help that you need, don't stay stuck in a loop like that either. It is a for-profit medical system. Don't forget, everybody's getting paid. Okay, everyone's damaged and everyone's getting paid. So just be careful with things like that. Therapists can help a lot when they're helping a lot. Okay, but to tell the dark end of your story, just know when to leave the party, you know. Let's see. Oh, last thing I want to say. Avoid people who want to pull you into their chaos, who never want to do the work, who are in constant patterns of toxicity, who are always stirring the pot in their life and then shocked when the consequences show up. Avoid them like the plague, because these are people typically who are working from unresolved guilt and shame, and they will pull everyone, crabs in a bucket. They will crabs in a bucket you to death. Okay, pull you back down with them. When you start breaking these chains and you start doing this work and you start getting free, you're going to figure out real quick who's happy and clapping for you and who isn't and wants to pull you back into their chaos. Okay, you pulling away from them is like taking oxygen away from them. Because a lot of times people who have unresolved guilt and shame, they only hang out with other people like them. It becomes almost like a cult. And you may not see it that way until you heal, but it's true. Okay, so be real careful with that. Okay, I'm going to look through this and see if you guys have posted any questions. I hope this helps. And if you want a part 2, let me know, or any other sermon topics you guys would like to hear. I'm always taking your requests. Oh, let's see. Hi, Cliche. Hi, Masubi, Vanessa, Ishika, Sapphireans, Lunatic. I love that. We can be subjective. Yes. Projected wounds. Yes. Projected wounds. Okay. And then we have some prayer requests. Okay. It looks like you guys, okay. We do have one, let's see, one comment here maybe that I missed. So Lunatic says, I say to myself when my own chaos shows itself, I don't want to infect anyone else. And Vanessa says a part 2 would be good. Okay. And if you guys have specific things you would like to hear me speak on in part 2, let me know that as well. So Lunatic's comment here, I say to myself when my own chaos starts to show because I don't want to infect anyone else. I have so much respect for this, and I do this myself. We may seem sometimes like we're dropping off or we're walling out or we're isolating or whatever, but you know what? That shit's healthy, because no one can get you back in alignment, you know, but you doing the work. And it can be, especially when you're dealing with this particular topic, that when you get out around everyone else, it is kind of like a demon stirring up. It is, you know, this dark cloud. It is constantly triggered. And it can be all consuming. And so you are best to take a little personal space and get it dealt with before you re-engage. If you know you're going to infect other people with with your negativity. That's the adult thing to do, and it's very honorable. So, also, let's be realistic, going out into the world when you're in a vulnerable condition, okay, you're basically like a poodle in the yard and like an eagle is coming to take the poodle away. I mean, don't just victimize yourself by exposing yourself to the world around you when you're in a vulnerable state, because people have radar, okay, and the universe has a lot of dark energy working, and it's just going to come peck at you, okay, and it's hard to get correct when you're swatting all of this chaos off of you that doesn't even need to be there. All right. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. Don't forget to post your prayer and healing requests, questions, or comments on this. And I'll be checking this feed for 2 weeks. And I will see you guys for our next service next month, which is going to be on evil, IQ, or I think it was something you guys had voted on this one. It was like, what's the difference between someone who's actually coming from a place of evil versus maybe an IQ issue or something psychological. I forget what the title is, but that one's going to be really interesting. So tune in. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.